From the thunderous roar of the Antonov and Tu-25 Mriya slicing through the sky to behemoth Airbus A380 gracefully ferrying passengers across continents, the history of aviation has produced airborne giants that defy logic, physics, and even imagination. And today we're diving headfirst into the jaw-dropping world of the top 20 largest airplanes of all time. A countdown so massive it could shake the runway. And yes, we're going from the colossally large to the outrageously enormous, covering military titans, commercial juggernauts, transport leviathans, and experimental monsters that have rewritten the very blueprint of flight. Starting us off at number 20 is the Lockheed C-5M Super Galaxy, an absolute workhorse of the United States Air Force. Measuring 247 feet in length and capable of lifting over 280,000 pounds of cargo, with a wingspan stretching 222 feet. This strategic airlifter has transported everything from tanks to helicopters and remains a symbol of America's aerial logistics might. Coming in at 19 is the Antonov In-22 Anti-I, the Soviet-era behemoth with contra-rotating propellers, and the largest turboprop-powered aircraft ever built, boasting a 211-foot wingspan and a maximum takeoff weight of over 500,000 pounds. It was a Cold War marvel designed to deliver heavy payloads deep into remote areas. At number 18, we find the Boeing 777X, the latest and longest twin-engine passenger plane ever developed, with folding wingtips and a wingspan over 235 feet. That lets it fit into airport gates yet spread out for aerodynamic efficiency at altitude, combining innovation and luxury for global air travel. Then at 17 is the Airbus BelugaXL, designed specifically for transporting large aircraft parts and named after its resemblance to a smiling whale, with a cavernous cargo bay measuring 63 feet long and a height of over 24 feet. It's like a flying hangar capable of carrying entire wings of other planes. Number 16 goes to the Douglas C-124 Globemaster. 2. An early U.S. Air Force heavy-lift transport aircraft used in the 1950s and 60s that could carry tanks, troops, and even field hospitals, often called Old Shaky for its vibrating engines. It was massive in its time and laid the groundwork for future transport designs. Flying at 15 is the Airbus A340-600, once the longest passenger plane ever flown, stretching an unbelievable 247 feet. With a wingspan of 208 feet, designed for ultra-long haul flights like New York to Johannesburg, without refueling, and housing over 380 passengers in its prime. Number 14 introduces us to the Convair B-36 Peacemaker, a strategic bomber from the Cold War, with a wingspan of 230 feet and 6 pusher-prop engines backed by 4 jet engines, capable of carrying nuclear bombs across intercontinental distances before aerial refueling was even a thing. Its sheer scale made it a flying battleship. Taking the 13th spot is a McDonnell Douglas KC-10 Extender, an aerial refueling tanker with a wingspan of 165 feet and the ability to carry more than 350,000 pounds of fuel, extending the global reach of American air power and playing a pivotal role in modern air mobility operations. Number 12 is the Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack, the largest supersonic bomber ever built, with variable sweep wings and an imposing 177-foot length. Capable of flying Mach 2.05 while carrying nuclear payloads, its sleek profile hides monstrous capabilities. Breaking into the top 11 is the Lockheed L-1011. TriStar, a wide-body airliner with an impressive 164-foot length and 155-foot wingspan, beloved for its smooth flight and advanced avionics during the golden age of jet travel. Though retired today, its footprint still echoes in the design of future passenger planes. At number 10, we find Antonov An-124 Ruslin, Ukraine's answer to the world's cargo challenges, and one of the heaviest aircraft still in service. At 226 feet long, and able to lift up to 330 tons. It's used by militaries and civilian contractors alike to transport mining equipment, locomotives, and even other aircraft. Sliding into number 9 is the Boeing Dreamlifter, an enormous cargo version of the 747 to 400 used to transport components of the 787 Dreamliner, with a length of 235 feet and a bulging fuselage that looks photoshopped. It's a logistics miracle in the sky. Number 8 is the Hughes H-4 Hercules, aka the Spruce Goose, a flying boat with a 320-foot wingspan that flew only once in 1947 under command of Howard Hughes. Constructed entirely of wood during wartime material shortages, it remains the largest flying boat and the largest wooden aircraft ever built. At number 7 is the Boeing 747-8 Intercontinental, the last and largest version of the iconic jumbo jet, stretching 250 feet in length and capable of carrying over 600 passengers. It symbolizes the peak of wide-body luxury and transcontinental efficiency. Number 6 belongs to the Antonov and Tu-25 Mriya, the absolute king of cargo aircraft. Originally built to transport the Soviet Buran space shuttle. With 6 engines, a wingspan of 290 feet, and a record-breaking maximum takeoff weight of 640 tons, it was the single largest airplane ever to fly until its tragic destruction in 2022 during the conflict in Ukraine, forever sealing its legendary status. Number 5 is the Airbus A380, the double-decker super jumbo that redefined passenger aviation with 4 engines, 853 maximum seating capacity, and a wingspan of 261 feet. It remains the largest passenger aircraft ever constructed and a symbol of peaceful air travel at scale. Stepping into number 4 is the Stratolaunch rock, designed to launch rockets into orbit from the sky. With a dual fuselage and a jaw-dropping 385-foot wingspan, making it the largest wingspan of any aircraft ever. This futuristic monster reimagines what aircraft can do, not just on Earth, but for space. Number 3 belongs to Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, a long-range strategic bomber that has remained in service since the 1950s, measuring 159 feet long, with a 185-foot wingspan, and capable of delivering both conventional and nuclear munitions worldwide. It's not the biggest by size, but its historical and global footprint make it one of the most important aircraft in aviation history. The runner-up at number 2 is the Lockheed Martin C-130 Hercules, a legend in tactical airlift, widely used by militaries across the globe with over 2,500 units built, at 97 feet long and with a 132-foot wingspan. It may not be the biggest in dimensions, but in reach, versatility, and deployment, it's one of the most important planes ever to fly. And finally, number 1, the crown jewel of aerial giants, goes unequivocally to the Antonov and Tu-25 Mriya once again, yes, because even in death, its legacy towers above all. It flew with a single purpose: to carry the world's heaviest, longest, and most awkward cargo ever imagined, setting over 240 world records and capturing the hearts of millions before meeting its end. And while it's no longer in the sky, plans to rebuild are underway, proving that legends, like dreams, never truly die. And that's the countdown, a celebration of sheer scale, ambition, and ingenuity in the skies, from war machines and luxury liners to airborne cranes and orbital launchers. These 20 flying Goliaths represent the best that human innovation can build when the sky is no longer the limit, but merely the beginning. And as we soar into the future of aerospace, one thing is clear: the age of the giant aircraft is far from over. But beyond the awe-inspiring dimensions and statistics, what truly sets these colossal machines apart are the stories etched into their aluminum skeletons, titanium spines, and roaring engines. Each of these 20 flying giants tells a tale of human ambition that dares to defy gravity and geopolitical boundaries alike. Starting with the mighty Antonov and Tu-25 Mriya, a Soviet-era dream built not for combat, but for conquering the ultimate logistics challenge: transporting the Buran space shuttle. Atop its fuselage like a celestial backpack, and yet it grew into something much larger, a globe-trotting legend that carried entire wind turbines, trains, and even other aircraft, shocking ground crews in Australia, Africa, and South America who often witnessed the behemoth's massive 6-engine thunderstorm land with a whisper, thanks to its 32-wheel landing gear and state-of-the-art Soviet aerodynamics that remain unmatched. The Tu-25 wasn't just a cargo plane. It was an event, a sensation, and a monument to aviation engineering. And though destroyed during the early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, its legend lives on, with Antonov engineers now working tirelessly from a secret location to rebuild the Phoenix, honoring the dream its name represents. Mriya, meaning dream in Ukrainian, now turning back to the Airbus A380. Many believe this flying palace would dominate the skies for decades, with its twin decks offering onboard lounges, first-class suites with showers, and the quietest cabin ever experienced at 35,000 feet. But as fuel costs surged and airlines pivoted to point-to-point travel using smaller, more efficient jets, the A380's reign was cut short, yet its elegance, capability to carry over 850 passengers, and unmatched comfort have earned a place in aviation's Hall of Fame. Next, the Stratolaunch Rock isn't just a plane. It's a space launch platform with the wingspan of a football field and the mission of reaching beyond Earth's atmosphere, utilizing its twin fuselage layout to carry rockets into the stratosphere before mid-air release, a concept that could revolutionize satellite launches and reduce dependence on fixed ground-based pads, proving that aviation still holds a key to unlocking space. And speaking of the unusual, the Hughes H-4 Hercules, built during World War II and known as a spruce goose, defied critics by flying, even if only once and for a few seconds, to prove that wood and imagination could. Lift 8 engines and an aircraft the size of a battleship off the surface of Long Beach Harbor, and while it never entered service, its construction techniques and bold scale inspired generations of aerospace engineers to think bigger. In contrast, the Boeing Dreamlifter represents a more modern logistical necessity, conceived when the 787 Dreamliner production was split across global facilities, requiring the urgent transportation of fuselage sections and wings over long distances. Its cartoonish bulge belies a super-strength purpose, and with only 4 in operation, these Dreamlifters remain a rare and vital sight at Boeing hubs. Now, if we take a historical step back to the Cold War, the Convair B-36 Peacemaker carried the weight of nuclear deterrence in the atomic age, flying at high altitudes beyond the reach of early interceptors, with its 6 rear-facing pusher-props and 4 jets making it sound like a hybrid monster bird. It could fly 10,000 miles without refueling, a crucial ability before aerial tankers matured, and it served as a final bastion of piston-powered U.S. strategic bombers before jets took over. Leaping forward to more flexible giants, the Lockheed C-5M Super Galaxy evolved from its 1960s predecessor into the backbone of U.S. heavy airlift capabilities. With in-flight refueling and modernized avionics, the C-5M can deliver Patriot missile systems, Chinook helicopters, and even Abrams tanks across oceans, supporting combat operations, disaster relief, and diplomatic missions alike. When you see a C-5M roll onto the tarmac, you're witnessing American global reach in real time. Now on the subject of muscle and maneuverability, the Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack, the world's largest and fastest supersonic bomber, still strikes fear into air defense systems. With swing wings that allow it to adapt mid-flight and a sleek white paint job designed to reflect thermal radiation from nuclear blasts, this Russian marvel is both beauty and beast, routinely breaking the sound barrier while carrying strategic cruise missiles during long-range patrols near NATO airspace. Its spiritual counterpart, the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, may lack speed, but what has a staying power? Having served since the 1950s, it's expected to fly past 2050, giving it a nearly 100-year operational career, an unparalleled feat in any branch of the military. Its large wingspan and 8 engines give it a signature silhouette, and it's been adapted for high-altitude bombing, maritime patrol, close air support, and nuclear deterrence, making a multi-role titan of history. And speaking of multi-role legends, the C-130 Hercules has earned its name by doing it all. From combat drops in Afghanistan to humanitarian aid in Haiti, from operating off ice runways in Antarctica to being transformed into aerial gunships, whether hunters, firefighting tankers, and even drone command centers, this aircraft is the Swiss Army knife of the skies. Small by giant standards, but titanic in legacy and global impact. Let's now revisit the Antonov and 124 Russlin, which many consider the N-225's younger, but still outrageously powerful sibling, capable of transporting trains, helicopters, even parts of nuclear reactors, and it's been spotted on every continent, often lifting loads that no other aircraft could even dream of. Its nose flips open like a mechanical snarl, revealing a vast cargo hold that has amazed ground crews from Paris to Pakistan. When it comes to commercial giants, the Boeing 747-8 Intercontinental is the swan song of the Queen of the Skies, improving on its ancestors with advanced engines, longer fuselage, and luxury business class suites. It's a fusion of Boeing's iconic design with the demands of modern aviation. While the 747 production line has shut down, these aircraft will continue to fly for decades as cargo haulers and VIP transports for world leaders. The McDonnell Douglas KC-10 extender, meanwhile, has kept U.S. air power fueled across generations of conflict, offering both boom and drogue refueling and serving in nearly every U.S. overseas mission since the 1980s. Though being phased out, its contribution to American global mobility is legendary, and its massive fuel tanks and long-range capability made it a flying lifeline. And as the world looks to more sustainable and advanced options, newer titans like the 777X and the BelugaXL represent the future. The former with carbon fiber wings and the longest fuselage of any twin-engine jet ever made, while the latter looks like a cartoon but works like a crane with wings, shuttling Airbus parts across Europe in record time. All of this brings us full circle to what these aircraft represent: not just size, but dreams, courage, and the ability to turn impossible into airborne reality. Because every one of these giants once began as a sketch on paper, a wild idea in an engineer's mind, or a desperate wartime necessity that evolved into a legacy. And whether it's lifting 150 tons of humanitarian aid to disaster zones, circling the globe with 800 passengers, launching rockets into orbit, or simply flying once to prove it could be done, these airplanes are the castles of the sky, and their engines echo not just across runways, but across history. And as we look ahead to the next generation of flying giants, with hydrogen-powered cargo lifters, blended wing-body commercial jets, and orbit-capable aircraft on the horizon, one truth remains crystal clear. In the race between gravity and ingenuity, humanity's greatest victory has always taken off with wings. And now, as the contrails fade behind the wings of these giants, we look toward the future with reverent eyes and bold ambitions. Because aviation never rests. It evolves, adapts, and charges headlong into the unknown, armed with the courage of the past and the technology of tomorrow. And what began with cloth wings and wooden propellers has grown into an age where aircraft like the Lockheed Martin LMXD, America's next-generation strategic tanker, prepare to redefine aerial refueling with stealth-adjacent profiles and battle-hardened survivability, while concepts like the NASA X-59 KSST chase the dream of quiet supersonic travel, eliminating the sonic boom that once grounded commercial supersonics like the Concorde, promising instead a boomless revolution that could turn intercontinental travel into a matter of hours. But what's most fascinating is how the legacy of the largest planes inspires every new breakthrough, from the Airbus ZROE hydrogen-powered freighters to DARPA's conceptual X-plane blended wing aircraft, which may one day replace today's workhorses with ultra-efficient, massive-body aircraft that blend the wings and fuselage into one seamless, high-lift form, unlocking greater payloads with a fraction of today's fuel burn. The evolution isn't just about size anymore. It's about capability, reach, sustainability, and strategic advantage. And nowhere is that more evident than the rise of unmanned giants, like Boeing's MQ-25 Stingray and Kratos XQ-58 Valkyrie, which, while smaller in size than traditional aircraft, signal a future where massive payloads and extended missions might be managed autonomously, with artificial intelligence navigating skies that were once the sole domain of human pilots. And yet, as cutting-edge as that future seems, the roots go back to the aircraft we've honored today, from the C-17 Globemaster III, which remains one of the most mission-ready jets in existence, with over 3 million flight hours logged across humanitarian, combat, and diplomatic missions, to the B-2 Spirit, whose bat-wing form glides undetected over hostile territory delivering strategic payloads, while simultaneously rewriting the rules of stealth. These aircraft are more than machines. They're national assets, global symbols, and flying testaments to what human minds can build when fear bows the vision. And across every continent, aviation museums preserve these giants not as relics, but as monuments. You can still walk under the nose of a C-5 Galaxy at Dover AFB, stand in the cavernous belly of an An-124 in Ukraine, or stare in wonder at the preserved spruce goose in Oregon, its wings stretching nearly the width of a city block, reminding us that size alone doesn't make something great. It's the story, the mission, the purpose behind the weight and wingspan that give these aircraft their soul. And when we talk about soul, we must speak of the pilots, engineers, technicians, and visionaries behind these airborne leviathans. Those who push the envelope, signed off impossible blueprints, climbed into cockpits knowing they were steering history with every throttle push and yoke adjustment, and who often returned home with the grease of legends on their hands and the thunder of progress in their hearts. Whether it was the daring crews who flew the first 747 across oceans, the Soviet test pilots who dared to land in 225 with near-zero visibility, or the stealth masters who trained for decades in desert silence to fly the B-2 like a phantom over enemy skies. These are the people who turn metal into miracles. Today, air forces and commercial operators around the world continue to lean heavily on these giants, because size matters when time is short, danger is near, and mission success depends on what you can lift, how far you can fly it, and whether you can do it again tomorrow. When the earthquake struck Haiti, it was the C-17s and C-130s that touched down first, full of aid and hope. When a global pandemic froze borders, it was converted freighters and repurposed A-380s that delivered PPE across oceans. When war demands readiness, it's the B-52, the Tu-160, and the KC-135 that fuel strategy from the sky. And when technology stuns us, it's the experimental giants like the Stratolaunch with its twin fuselage or NASA's Super Guppy that make us pause, stare, and say, they really built that? Because these aircraft are proof that no runway is too short, no payload too heavy, and no idea too large if you dare to build wings big enough to carry it. But perhaps the most powerful message these behemoths deliver is not written in payload charts or engine thrust ratings, but in their silent declaration that the sky is not the limit. It's merely the beginning. For even as the sun sets on the operational days of some of these aircraft, their designs are studied, their blueprints digitized, their missions taught in flight schools and war colleges, and their innovations live on in composite materials, fly-by-wire systems, adaptive wings, and fuel-efficient turbofans that owe their birth to the lessons learned from these aerial titans. And whether we are gazing at BelugaXL landing with airplane wings inside its cargo bay, or watching a KC-10 refuel a bomber midair above the Pacific, or witnessing the massive 777X bow its carbon fiber wings on its first test flight, every sight confirms that size isn't just a matter of dimensions, but a reflection of human ambition, strategic necessity, and engineering mastery. And so we salute the top 20 largest airplanes of all time, not as coal machines, but as chapters in our collective aviation epic, as milestones on a runway to tomorrow's aerospace revolution, as reminders that when nations dream, when engineers believe, and when gravity dares us, mankind builds wings wide enough to silence doubt, engines loud enough to shake the earth, and aircraft bold enough to rewrite what's possible. And as the next generation of air giants prepares to rise, shaped by AI, powered by hydrogen, guided by autonomy, and limited only by imagination, we say to the skies, we're not done yet. We're just getting started.